November 2014. Welcome friends, I'm Dadhichi from astrology.com.au, and before I go into giving you each your monthly forecast, I like to just speak briefly about some of my general observations about what's happening in the heavens and how it affects all of us. And what must surely be the most powerful connection right now is the Mars-Pluto conjunction in the sign of Capricorn. And this is a very intense, warlike combination, and we could talk for hours at length on the impact on politics and the world at large, the wars that are looming. We know all of that, and I don't want to bring you down with that. So I'd like to focus on as I have in the past, the transformative aspects of Pluto, and the fact now that Mars is moving close by, the physical drive, the physical intensity of that, and how you might be able to use these two energies to, I guess, move forward in your spiritual work, your stage of development, wherever you are right now. Mars is a very physical planet, even though we see it with Pluto in the Earth sign of Capricorn. You have the opportunity here to move beyond what I call frictional living, the resistance that we have to life. And yet that's where all the heat starts, when we're actually fighting against the prevailing trends. And we see that too with the right angle to what we call the karmic points in the horoscope right now. These prevailing trends may not exactly be what you feel comfortable with. And I can speak from experience on that right now, because I must say I've found myself in an emerging economy, in what some consider a third world country, where we don't have the same luxuries, not everyday luxuries, the infrastructure, so on and so forth, that we do in Western countries. So it's very easy to slip into that frictional, reactive response to what's going on around us. And we can extend that to a whole lot of other areas in our lives, our relationships, our work, the situations we're in culturally, philosophically. All of these sorts of things set up the challenge for us to frictionally deal with it. So the more resistance we have, the more suffering we have. It's a tough one because, we're genetically wired in a certain way, and astrology is about this genetic wiring and how the horoscope reveals how all those wires are connected, or in many, many cases tangled. They're called hard aspects. But saying that, the hard aspects, or these challenging components of the planetary combinations, is sometimes what really give us the momentum to break free of those elements that are holding us back. And by that I don't mean physically lifting yourself out of the situation you're in and saying, okay, now I'm out of the friction. I think what I'm alluding to is a more internalized form of stepping out. In other words, allowing yourself to just be in the situation you're in without necessarily having to, resist that. And I'm not saying you give in to everything. I'm saying there are times when, sitting in a traffic jam, and we have plenty of those here, and we have plenty of those in the West as well. What do you do with your time in a traffic jam? I've discovered that just sticking my headphones on, if I can't do anything about it, there's no use resisting that. Finding another mechanism whereby we can step out of that situation and reduce that form of resistance, which is the source of all suffering. That is a way to deal with this combination of Mars and Pluto. Of course, Pluto is the transformative planet whose work is to really eliminate, again, often we think elimination is getting rid of the thing that is obstructing us, the thing that is our mode of resistance. And that's not exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about more the elimination of the attitudinal responses to those situations. That is a whole new ball game. This requires a paradigm shift in terms of the way we live our lives, in terms of the way we see people, particularly the ones we see every day. And I've had a few clients this week who are having great stresses with the people that they work with. Of course, the first reaction to dealing with a psychopathic employer is to run, in case you grab the scissors on your desk and stab them to death. So, no, we're not talking about running. We're not talking about reducing the resistance by moving away from that. Sometimes you just can't do that. So I think these planetary energies are talking more about how to redirect the energy, how to deal with that internal response that we have. And there are many different responses, but how do we simply watch that without getting too involved? Even if we are going crazy, sometimes just that simple act of stepping back and understanding that you're the awareness behind the thoughts, behind the emotions, behind the circumstantial problems that are going on around you. That is a very liberating thing, because it gives you a clear understanding and internal position which states that you're not the perceived experience. In a sense, you're not even the experiencer. You are something beyond that. You're that mode of awareness, that pure, unconditional awareness that observes what's happening. A choiceless awareness that is not necessarily judging what's happening, good or bad, but just allowing it to arise with a sense of, okay, let's see where this is going to take us. That very attitude has a remarkable effect on people around you too. I find it works. Yeah, there are moments where I just do my nana and want to beat the living shit out of everyone. Yes, astrologers have personalities too. But then there are other moments where I am, sometimes when I'm just exhausted dealing with people. I was telling my producer today, I've realised there's another country that no one's even aware of. It's called Moronia. And the people that come from there are called Moronians, but I call them morons. And they've infiltrated our society. There are lots of them. So dealing with the morons, and I'm sure you've got that happening all the time, there really are a lot of idiots around the place. I'm sorry to sound so negative, but it's true. It's a true observation. But what I'm finding is the less I react to those morons, actually sometimes a simple statement through the act of silence has far more impact. So it's that sort of attitudinal shift. I like to call it play or exploration. I don't like to say to you, do it like this, or if you don't do it like this, you're not going to have the beautiful, blissful experience that we all desire. I'm saying to you, just use these planetary energies, the circumstances that you're in, to explore what a great man once, and I forget who it was, once coined the science of human possibilities. What are the possibilities in any given moment? Actually, they're infinite. The way you can react to any sort of situation, good or bad, is not actually out of your control. For the most part, it is. For those of us in this human race who are unconscious beings, those of us from Moronia may be completely unable to direct those reactions. For those of you who have a little bit of awareness and who are open to this science of human possibilities, you might like to join me in the experiment to try reacting in a different way. And that goes for your day-to-day relationships, ones that you've been in for many, many years. What happens is that there's a groove set up. One of the parties will act, the other will react, and then that becomes almost like a habitual pattern. So what I'm asking you to do today is to use these powers of Mars and Pluto as catalysts for internal change. These processes which, if you're alert, aware enough, in a playful enough mood, will want to simply explore these possibilities. See what happens if you react in a different way. See how that other person reacts to your new reaction. It will probably catch them off guard, throw them off balance, which is exactly what you want to do. You want to have the upper hand in any negotiation. And this is why this particular paradigm shift that I'm talking about is so important. So give it a little bit of thought. I'm going to now move on to the 12 signs. I hope that's food for thought, and I look forward to talking to you in a moment with your specific star sign for the month of November 2014. Take care.